my name is Micaela Sanchez. Welcome to our new series of podcasts, Chila Chats con CLCA. Today our topic is going to be on the importance of higher education. And to help us with our conversation, we have Catherine, Giselle, and Stephanie. If you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, starting with Catherine.
Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine, and I am currently a fourth year. I am a communication major, and my hometown is LA, which is where I'm currently at right now.
Nice.
Hi, everyone. I'm Giselle. I'm currently a second year international relations major, and I am from Sirius, California.
And Stephanie.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Rodriguez. I'm a second year managerial economics student and I'm from Riverside, California.
Yeah, thank you. And like I said, my name is Micaela Sanchez. I am a third year double major in psychology and art history. I am from San Leandro, which is in the Bay Area. And I'm currently at home right now. And today, like I said, we are discussing the importance of higher education. And the reason why we chose this topic is because all of us know right now that pursuing a higher education, whether that be starting from an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, leads to better paying jobs or more job options. And this morning I actually looked up online from learn.org that the US Bureau of Labor Statistics back in 2018 reported that the median weekly earnings from people who graduated with just a high school diploma was about $730, as opposed to people who did receive a bachelor's degree and in the same age group of 25 and older received almost $1,200 weekly, as opposed to people who had a diploma. And higher education is designed to broaden an individual's knowledge and experiences personally and academically. Graduates leave with a record of their accomplishments recognized and valued by future employers in college, whether that be working with your professors or in other clubs and organizations on campus. Most undergrad degrees have both courses that are specific to your field and general courses that other students need to take provides more fundamental knowledge in a variety of fields and other subjects. And there's different ways to take pathways into your education, whether that be community college or straight into a four-year university. And there's many values of education, whether that be career, social, or personal. But whether that be any of those things, it's important to continue your education to better yourself for your own benefit and your health and your financial means. And also just to study something that you really care about. So we're going to get right into some questions. So my first question for Catherine and Giselle. So throughout your high school career, what were your perspectives on higher education? And did you ever imagine yourself that you'd be in college? Why or why not? And Catherine, do you want to start?
Yes, so I definitely feel that when I was in high school, personally, I looked up to people in college. I thought it was this unspoken of sort of thing that was really cool to me, and I really wanted to get into it and make my parents proud, considering that I am a first generation and my parents didn't go to college. One thing that I can say, it does depend where you come from and what school you come from, because some schools do emphasize college a lot and some schools may not provide those resources for you. So depending on where you come from, it is important to look out for yourself and just kind of look for other opportunities and see if anybody can help you when it comes to finding out about colleges. For my 9th grade and 10th grade, I remember I went to college in to a high school in LA, and then I switched to a high school in Burbank, and it was just completely different, the importance of college. So yeah, I just think that it's important to look out for information yourself.
Right. Was it more important in your high school in Los Angeles? Did they kind of help you more in that high school, or was it vice versa? And what made it so different?
It was actually vice versa, and I feel like one thing that did make a difference is you can tell that the kids in Burbank were a little bit more motivated to go to college. So also one advice that I can give is stick to people that are motivated just as like you, but don't be afraid to motivate others, because it might be that others again are just lacking those resources and they might not think that college is possible for them.
Right. Yeah. So what about you? What is your perspective on higher education, and did you ever imagine yourself being in college?
So for me, my perspective on higher education in high school was that if you really want a job, like if you're passionate about a job, like say you want to be a doctor, then like getting a higher education, a like a bachelor's degree or master's degree will really help you pursue like your career, and then you can like say that like I love my job. And I also wanted to say like I love my job and like with my job that I get. And something that I also thought about
Mhm.
higher education was that it was too expensive. I was like, how can I ever afford like to pay for college?
Mhm.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
I actually did not imagine myself going to college. I growing up, I was like, I don't know, like I don't know, like there was like a CSU and a UC system. I don't know about those. And I wasn't into high school when my counselors were like, "Oh, you're going to college." And ever since my freshman year of like high school, they helped everyone, not just me, but everyone in that school get into college. So I like it's because of them is that I'm here.
Nice. Yeah. I can kind of agree with that too. I mean, my high school, they separated the kids very early. I know that for me, when I took AP classes, they focused on us the most as opposed to students who didn't. And I feel like I really had to, really reach out to a lot of my counselors to receive those um, resources too. And personally, I've always wanted to go to college. I didn't know what for. I didn't know how I was going to get there. Um, but I knew that I was going to go. It was also my parents saying, like, you're going to go to college, like, also being, first gen too. There's no one that really tells you what it's going to be like. But looking back now, I feel like all of us worked so hard to get to where we are currently. And I'm just really grateful for that experience. But now that we are in UC Davis, um, I feel like a lot of perspectives have changed within ourselves and what college means to us. So, um, how has your perspective changed since you've gotten here? How has UC Davis helped you personally, and what opportunities have you taken advantage of now that you're here? And Stephanie, do you want to start off with that question?
Yeah, sure. So I guess from my experience, I think I was very lucky in my high school because we had multiple programs such as Trio Upward Bound,
Mm-hmm.
EAOP with UCR, the Early Academic Opportunity Program, and there was also the International Baccalaureate program that would help us with rigorous college courses. So the perspective of me transitioning to actually getting to UC Davis was the fact that it wasn't as hard as everybody kind of made it seem, because you are confronted with like a lot of barriers, such as like what Giselle said, like financially you're not sure whether you'd be able to make it, or personally, because a lot of families, especially with our identities, a lot of families is community based, and where for us females and for women, my bad, for women it's especially hard because our parents don't want us to go as far as we want to go. And a part of
Mm-hmm.
growing up is the fact that some of us are hundreds of miles away. Like some of us came from SoCal to NorCal, or a lot of us came from NorCal to SoCal, depending on what university we decided to choose.
Right.
So with that, I feel like my perspective changed in the fact that I have to depend on myself instead of like a community,
Mm-hmm.
to motivate myself to do the responsibilities that I have to set out to do the day, such as my classes, going to class, and especially with your own mental health. Because although that a part of the college experience is you motivating yourself to do your responsibilities, it's also trying to find the community within college to make yourself like, hey, I'm here and other people are here with me, so I shouldn't feel so alone. So I guess branching out has changed my perspective a lot. And yeah, and with UC Davis personally, I spent a lot of quarantine trying to cook for myself, since I deal with like a lot of mental health personally. So I feel like the quarantine has helped me realize like, hey, you have to take care of yourself because a lot of people can't take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You should reach out to others to be able to make that community within yourself and know, say, I'm here to not only get the degree, I'm here to build a community, I'm here to build a network. So yeah, that's how my perspective has changed.
So great. And, I think also during the quarantine, I think that people are learning that, school is one thing, but you can't do school without taking care of yourself and taking care of your body and your mental health. And, again, like you said, you come in here learning that you're by yourself, but you can, it's still up to you to like take initiative to find those resources that are helpful for you. So that's great. Yeah, thank you. Catherine, how about you? How has your perspective changed since you've been here?
Yeah, I think my perspective has definitely changed a lot versus being in high school and transitioning into university. Just like, as well as just transitioning from like a community college to a UC, since I am a transfer, it is different.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I will say, it is really, really super cool being around people that are so motivated and so passionate in what they do. There are so many different majors, and there are so many things that I don't even think I realized when I was in high school that people branch out to. I think it's super cool that in college you're more focused on yourself and what you like, and kind of going off of what Stephanie said, you kind of find ways to like take care of yourself in a whole different way, because it's kind of like you're leaving your nest. Essentially, you're kind of like a bird being free, because you start finding out like networks, and you start finding out a bunch of organizations that help you, like
Mm-hmm.
CLCA. And yeah, it's pretty cool branching out to so many things, like the fact that there are so many clubs as well, and so many opportunities, so many resources. Definitely one thing also is that I thought it was going to be, you know, not easy money wise. And I mean, it isn't easy, but it is doable. It's definitely doable. And I think the end goal is what is going to ultimately make it worth it.
Right, yeah. And I think you're the only person here that's went through, the community college route. And I think that's great. When I talk to transfer students, they're just as motivated as anybody who started as a first year. And they have so much to offer. And then also I know that in UC Davis, like when we get transfer students, everybody's so welcoming, so excited to meet everybody from there. And I always like see different events for transfer. That's so great that you had like that own little niche already of community that you have already that provides you. And Giselle, what about you? How has perspective changed since you've been here? All right. And so, Giselle, going on to you, since you've been in UC Davis, how has your perspective on college changed, and what opportunities have you taken here to benefit you?
So for me, my college, my perspective has changed ever since I arrived at UC Davis. Since I realized that you can get like financial aid, grants, scholarships to afford college, and
Mm-hmm.
I also my perspective has changed by branching out and taking care of yeah. Like I first I didn't really take care like of myself in high school. Like I was just
Mm-hmm.
like I wouldn't like do any of that in high school, and but it wasn't until college when I realized like it's really important to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I started doing was like journaling, and that really helped
Nice.
me like stay focused on school.
Mm-hmm.
And I also realized that like in college people are more passionate with the work. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I was doing coming out of high school. Like I had no idea what I was going to do with my life.
Yeah.
And I remember I wanted to be a surgeon. Like I was determined to be a surgeon. And but that all changed like week 2 of fall core. I'm like, nope, I do not want to follow this route anymore.
Right.
And I changed my major to international relations. And I really like how like I like learning about like government and
Mm-hmm.
politics around the world, not just in the US. It's like
Mm-hmm.
interesting like learning about the world, not just like in one country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come to college and you meet so many different people from all over the world. We have so many international students here too, and people who come from different states, and you can kind of realize that the world is bigger than where you came from. And I think that's amazing that you want to study that and pursue that more because it's really important to you. Um, And I think that kind of leads on to how my perspective has changed. I realized that, coming to college, I met so many different people from all walks of life, and each of them have taught me something so different. Uh, I tried out many different organizations on campus to suit my hobbies and career path that I might probably want to take. But one thing I've definitely learned in college is that it's okay to change. It's okay to change your perspective on things. It's okay to change your major. It's okay to add on to majors. I started off as a psychology major thinking that I wanted to be a psychiatrist and go to med school. And then I took that Alex course on chemistry and I realized, no, this is not going to happen. STEM is not for me, but I love psychology so much. I love the research of it. So I'm going to stick with it. And I've also been so fascinated with art since I was in high school. I took photography for 2 years. And I would go to museums so much in San Francisco that I was like, okay, I think I want to work in museums, but how can I incorporate psychology and art history together? It doesn't make any sense. But the more I started reaching out to professors, the professors here in UC Davis, I just feel like they're so different from other professors. I mean, for me at least, they've been so welcoming and so warming and really resourceful. I was able to get, my research position through just emailing the professor last quarter. And she's been so helpful and so welcoming of my other major, and she wants to incorporate, art history with some type of art education research, right? And I've also used the opportunity with Amenities STREM to put on an exhibition in the museum. And I don't think I would be able to do that if I went to a different university. So the atmosphere and the environment in Davis is very welcoming, very warming. And again, you can definitely find your niche where if you just look really hard enough. But you can also change and grow in a positive way and find what you like. So yeah, this is great. And then also being that we're all, Chila identity and also women, how has that influenced your college experience? And Stephanie, do you want to go ahead and start with that question?
Well, for me personally, my mother has been very role model for me, especially since she comes from El Salvador. So a lot of my identity with education comes from her.
Mm-hmm.
She had to, obviously in other countries, they're not privileged as we are, where public education is is I'm sorry, public education isn't funded by the government, and where they have to pay like their own version of tuition at the public education sector for K-12. And with her, there's also other things that happened around in her family where she was unable to uh, go to her, like an associate's equivalent in El Salvador. So from her, she's been such a powerful role model for me to um, basically come to the university with the mindset like, hey, I come from a culture that it's it's more disadvantageous to be a woman because there's stereotypes where men are usually the ones trying to get an education, or men are usually the ones that are with getting careers. And thankfully in our generation, our Hispanic women are such a driving force in these higher education fields and higher education institutions. So I'm proud to be part of that culture. And with that, I feel that I kind of owe it to her to be more than just stopping at the high school level. I should be going to the going to at least a bachelor's degree, and also maybe considering graduate school if I would be interested in the research. But yeah, that's part of what my background is as an identity as a child student.
That's amazing. Salvi's pride over here. I love it. All right. And now, Catherine, how about you? How has your child identity influenced your college experience?
It has definitely influenced. I can say that I am honestly super, super proud to be a Latina and to be going to college. I feel like before college, there was always like a stigma that I heard around about how, there are less Latinos that go to college and that get a higher education. But it also made me realize that a lot of Latinos don't go to college because sometimes they simply can't go. I remember I knew some kids that they literally had to just go straight to work after that, like full time, just so they can support their siblings or something, because they had to be they were the oldest. So they were like the rock in the family. They had to help their parents out. And when it comes to those sort of situations, I can say that I am definitely very grateful to be kind of a part of that change. Like all of us in this room, we're a part of that change that's kind of like changing the statistic, and we're proving to people that yes, we can go to college, we're here, and you know, we're going to make a difference, and we're going to represent our ethnicity. And also one thing that motivates me again is being a first generation and seeing how hard my parents, and not just my parents, my uncles, my aunts, seeing how hard they work and the amount of money they receive. I know that I definitely want that to change for myself. I want to be able to make a better income than my family did, you know. And being the oldest sibling, I also want to like encourage my little siblings to go to college, because it is very important. And I also think UC Davis is actually one of the colleges that is accepting more Latinos now. So that is super cool. And again, I'm like proud that we're all a part of that, like a part of that number.
That's great. Thank you. And you said, how about you? How has your child identity influenced your college career?
So my child identity has influenced my career because I'm also a first generation student. Coming into college, I had no idea what to expect. I had nobody to look up to. Like I couldn't just like ask like my parent like, oh, like how do you do this? But like they never experienced it too. So like I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. And also I'm the first one in my family to go to a UC and moving out right after like moving to go to college. And it was a scary experience because I was like, I feel like I was still young. And it was also changing because like in a sense, I kind of grew, like like mature. I don't know like how to put it in
Right.
words, but like I kind of like became more mature,
Yeah.
and like I became more responsible like with my own actions, and I realized that like my parents worked hard, and like, I I don't know, just kind of feel like I grew. I don't know how to explain
You
it.
had a personal growth.
Yeah.
You're maturing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. No, I definitely understand, and I think that first gen students are probably definitely the most hardworking and most ambitious people I have ever met, and I'm so happy to be put into that group as well because I am proud of it. When I was applying for colleges, my mom and I were sitting in the laptop, like sitting at the laptop together, like, what are we doing? Like, no one ever was necessarily, there was no instruction manual. There was no, playbook to tell us like what do we do? Like, how do you apply? We're doing this, we're going in blind, but here we all are right now. And, all of us completed our first year here already. And some of us are going to graduate this year. And I think that is beautiful. And with my child identity, it has influenced almost everything that I've done. I carry my culture, my family with me. When I think about who I'm doing this for, it's not just me, it's for my family. And I'm also the oldest, and also being I self-identity identifying as a woman. It comes with its own little uh, not necessarily not stereotype, but I guess kind of I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but being a woman in our culture, it's a little bit more difficult, right? We have to take care of the men or take care of the family. And I know when I left and I'm the oldest. I have two younger brothers. I felt so guilty leaving. And I also remember my first year, I was so homesick that I wanted to come home. And my mom would tell me, like, this is for you. This is the one thing for you. And obviously, you're doing it for all of us and making us so proud, but you need to study what you want to study. This is the career path that you want to do. Um, so, also being a Latina and the career that I want, I know as we go up the ranks, we're going to see less and less. But like I think Catherine was saying, UC Davis and I think the UC system overall has been accepting of more Latinx people, which I think is beautiful. Do I wish it happened earlier? Yeah, of course. But I think that now that people are starting to notice that we're not a stereotype, we're not a statistic anymore. We have so much to offer the world, and we're probably the most hardworking people that I know for sure. Um, so I guess move on to the next question. What advice would you give our listeners and viewers who are mostly high schoolers about pursuing a higher education? And Giselle, do you want to go ahead and start with that?
So my advice is that if you're passionate about something, go do it. There will always be a way to like achieve your goals. So like just do it. And also if you ever feel like if you don't belong somewhere, just remember that you do. And like you work so hard to get there. So no matter what no matter what anyone tries to tell you, you belong and just ignore what anybody else tells you to do.
Nice. Stephanie, how about you? What advice would you give our listeners and viewers?
So I tell them to go to everything, try everything, go to clubs that you're just even mildly interested. You're not you don't have to like join a club permanently if you just like come by first meeting. You don't grow as a person unless you're constantly doing activities and things that terrify the absolute life out of you. Because at that point, you know that you went over that barrier and say, oh, it wasn't scary anymore. Okay, now let me do something else that absolutely scares me. Because personally, for me, that helps me a lot because I get nervous a lot to talk to people. So it could be something as big as publicly speaking for the first time for something you were so passionate in high school, and now you get to fully bloom passion in college because the people you're interacting with people with so many different ideologies that people with different ideologies will probably agree with you on a certain thing. It could be as small as just walking with people to class and say, hey, can you be a friend, you want to go out for coffee, because you got to start networking, because at this point everything goes on you. So if you try things that absolutely scare you, you realize that it's not as bad as anymore, and you grow as a stronger person, and you get those little things that you have in your head. Oh, don't try it, you're not good enough, don't try it, you're not the best at it. It doesn't matter as long as you scare yourself, grow from there, and keep growing for the rest of your life. At least personally for me.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And how about you, Catherine? What advice would you give our listeners?
Yes, I definitely agree with everything that you guys have said so far. I believe that it is so important to just don't listen to those doubts in your head. There are going to be those doubts, but I promise you that you will grow as a person. And it is such a cool way for you to grow your passion. Again, there are so many opportunities and so many majors that you can choose from. And if money is something that you're also worried about, just know that there is going to be help and that you can do it. You know, one thing is that your ideas want to be heard. There isn't going to be people that shut you down. Like, you will find your voice and your community, and you will find your place ultimately in college. Maybe it might take a little while, but you will get there. And also for me, just transferring from like a community college to a UC, if that is something that you want to explore as well, and like save yourself some money and like just so that you can think about it, like that is something that I would encourage you to do. Also, if you're scared about going straight to a UC or a Cal State, it doesn't hurt to transfer.
Yeah, absolutely. Going off of that, I think that I know for me when I was in high school, I always thought that college was like this linear path, this rigid path that people go on. And the more I met new people on campus, the more I realized again that they come from so many different backgrounds with different pathways. We have, I think the youngest person I met in college was probably like 16, 15. The oldest was almost 30, right? All of us are on our own time and all of us are on our own path. And it's okay to take breaks, to take a moment to realize what you want to do. Start in community college if you need to for financial reasons, or you just don't know what you want to do yet. That's fine. There's also trade schools that are available for people who believe that a 4-year isn't for them, and that's totally fine. And also, if you are like at a 3rd year, 4th year, you're wondering like, what am I going to do after I graduate? I think it's totally okay to take a gap year and really figure out what works for you. Again, it's not a rigid path. It's not a linear path. It's your time, your education. It's what works best for you. And I think going off of that, I think that would be really cool to let our listeners know if we do have any post-undergrad plans. And I guess, Catherine, do you want to start since you're going to graduate soon? Like, what do you plan on doing after you graduate? if you want to share.
Yes. So right now I am definitely in the route of looking for internships and kind of again reaching out to people and looking out for those resources. And definitely also when you join clubs or communities, don't be afraid to reach out to alumni, because the cool thing about going to college is that your path doesn't end after you graduate. You know, there are so many opportunities for you to talk to people that have graduated. And even just doing this podcast right now, like I will like to continue to advocate for that once I graduate. And yeah, so right now I'm pretty much looking into I'm a communications major, so I'm looking more for like social media internships and like sort of like marketing and managing, because that's what I like to do. And honestly, I'm pretty excited. Like, it is scary, but I believe that I'm on the right path.
Amazing, thank you. Let's see, Giselle, what about you? I know that you still got some time, but what would you like to do when you graduate?
So right now I'm still like currently debating on what I want to do. I'm debating if I want to be a teacher and teach international relations to students so they can learn about like different parts of the world too. Or I'm debating on going to like politics and
Nice.
doing government stuff, because like I know like especially like Hispanic women are not really seen in politics.
Right.
And I don't know, I just like kind of want to like set an influence to like other other women too, and like first generation students or like the working class too. Like I want like to influence them that they can also make it to like Congress or stuff like that. So yeah.
That's amazing. We have our own AOC in here, guys. Look at us. Look at us go. And it's amazing. If you wanted to be a teacher, what grade would you want to do? Like university, high school, elementary? What are you thinking? If you wanted to be a teacher.
If I want to be a teacher, I want to aim to high school, like juniors and seniors, because I feel like they're getting closer to graduate, and I want to like give them like not examples, but like I want to give them like an
The guidance.
opportunity to like a guidance, yeah, like
Yeah.
of like countries, like the government around the world and stuff like that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's great. All right. How about you, Stephanie? What would you want to do after you graduate, or any plans you might have?
I definitely agree with Giselle wanting to do something in the education sector and the political sector, because I feel like they're the most impacting. And like Giselle said, that there isn't a lot of Hispanic or Latinx women that show representation for the next generation I'm into. I'd really like, for the education sector, I'd really like to be like an outreach specialist or like an advisor in those same programs that I benefited from, because it was very great. I was very grateful to enjoy the process with another person guiding me through. I would love to like make connections with younger children and or young adults, like Giselle said, to say, like, hey, this is the real world. Now you can make an impact. Just go to whatever sector you want in the passion that you want. And for the public sector, in the political side, I'd want to make policies to enforce the educators that give us so many opportunities along the way, that are a lot of role models for us as our community. And especially since they are one of the lower paying jobs, it has to be more enforced, especially with our education. And yeah, basically help in those sectors if I can. But yeah, always trying to constantly look into other things if maybe there's something even more specific that I'd like.
Yeah, no, that's great. I know we didn't talk about pay as much after we graduate, but I think that goes to show that we all want a career that's going to be impactful in our communities. Because again, I think we all recognize that we are getting this education to not only benefit ourselves, but benefit our families and our communities and show representation. Because again, like I said, as we move up the ranks in our education and careers, we don't see people like us. Well, we don't see others like us, people of color or BIPOC people. I know that for me personally, my dream job would be want to work in a museum. And every time I go, the artists that they show or the people that are working there are, there's barely any Latinx, Chicanx representation there. So I think going back to what we were all saying, like we want to be that representation. We want to show the world that we are here and we are educated and we want to help our community. So I think that's such a beautiful thing that we all have going for us right now. Going off of that, does anybody have any last minute advice, any last words about higher education before we end? And then I talk a little bit about what CLCA is and how it's helped us all. Yeah. Okay, cool. So like we said, college is a perfect place to find your group of people, find the niche and hobbies that work for you. And I this is my first year in CLCA, and I was so nervous to join because I didn't think that I was going to be, sometimes I have this thing where it's like, maybe I'm not good enough. But I definitely feel like from the first meeting, everybody was popping off in the chat, sending each other memes, sending each other jokes. It was great. I definitely felt like I wish I came sooner. But I think that the way that CLCA is structured it's going to be beneficial for all of us. And I already see it already, starting off with just the 3 pillars that we have based off of personal, social, and community development. And from the moment I read the mission statement, which I'll read right now, is to bring together the next generation of Latinx leaders and professionals from a variety of different academic backgrounds and help them reach their highest potential academically, professionally, and socially. And I also just love the values that we already have, which is cultural leadership, community, and ambition. And each of the pillars, the 3 pillars that we have, there's something to it, whether it be meetings, workshops, guest speakers. The last guest speaker that we had was just amazing. And our social development, we have the club socials with La Familia program, which I love, banquets and retreats, and community development programs as well, which is like volunteering and collaborating with organizations. And I guess I want to kind of go around and ask, like, what is your favorite aspect of CLCA? And Catherine, do you want to start?
Again, my favorite aspect is definitely just being around a bunch of people that I know have a similar background to me. And I love that. I love the fact that it has opened my mind to like just a community of such hardworking people. And again, like you said, there are so many different opportunities to workshops, to events, like helping us with our self-care, and also getting to talk to public speakers. So it's just pretty cool being a part of something like that.
Yeah. How about you, Giselle? What's your favorite thing about CLCA?
So my favorite thing about CLCA is that I'm the guest speakers that come in, and I can able like how they put their email in the newsletter so I can contact them afterwards. And I also like how you feel like it's a second family. That's how I found my community last year. I was so lost last year, and I don't know, like I joined CLCA, and it was like a whole like new experience for me, and like I really enjoyed it, and I don't know, it's just like it's amazing. So yeah.
How about you, Stephanie? How has your experience in CLCA been, and what's your favorite thing about it?
Just like everyone, the social aspect, since you feel so lost in a big university of like 38K students, that you have these small group of students that to talk your same slang, that talk your native language back home or your first language. And then also the professional aspect of it. I've gone to conferences, I've gone to certain places where it's deemed professional, and you feel so lonely when you see a person that looks similar to you or talks like you, because then like, oh, I can't really speak my slang because I'm supposed to be professional. And it's like interacting with other people where like, oh yeah, my slang's professional because we all get it here.
Yeah.
And also especially with quarantine, like you still get to make connections, but a safe distance from home.
Right. Yeah. I know that for me, starting out, I kind of felt like I was living 2 separate lives, like one in Davis and one at home. And at home, I speak Spanglish. I have my foods, my family. We're very, I'm more relaxed. Where I feel like when you go to Davis, it's like I got to be this perfect student. But I feel like with CLCA, again, like I said, like from the first moment in our Zoom meeting, people were talking Spanglish to each other, which is like something that I really love that we do. I love how we have our Spotify playlist going on too that I like to listen to. And I just love the atmosphere that we have and the actual genuine nature of caring for each other. I love how we send each other resources on CalFresh or job opportunities. And if we're in the same class, people are helping each other. Like that's the way it should be when you find your community like this. And all of us, being of Chilat descent, I think that we have just that foundation of understanding our culture is just already there, that we can move on to such more strong relationships. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And I also love our Familia program that we have, that we do every quarter. Because like, I think we have such a big group now. I think we have like around 80 students, and that's pretty big, which is great, but it's like another smaller little community that you have that's resourceful, and you can hang out on Zoom or play some type of game or whatnot. So I really love it. Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for telling me about your guys' interests, your college experience. Each of you had such great answers and advice to give to our listeners. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. And for our listeners, thank you so much for listening. We hope you were able to inspire some of you and provide you with some information that may help change your perspective on higher education. Feel free to reach out to any of our social media platforms if you have any questions or comments. This has been Youth Chai Lats con CLCA, and we hope to see you very soon. Bye.